calling all misfits, rebels, leaders, and teachers, welcome to the one place where the only way to fit in is by standing out, where big goals are met with even bigger action, and where we talk through, then tackle all things entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Kelsey Knudsen, and this is the Get Shit Done podcast. Welcome to the Revolution. The work is not over. If you caught the last two episodes, I broke down what KPIs to track if you're solo versus if you have a team. And today we're going to talk about what you do with that information. So if you're not sure what data to track in the first place, I encourage you to go back a couple episodes and catch up first, then come back to this one. When it comes to your business, the best way to learn how to make better decisions is to have data that drives those decisions. And one thing I didn't mention that deserves a little moment here is it's not just what cash came in and cash went out. It's not just what post was the most engaging. It's not just where did my time go. There's also a moment for context, because sometimes life be lifing. And it's important to call that out. When I'm auditing and I'm doing my monthly KPIs and I have my clients do the same, I also have them ask some reflective questions. Things like, how was my mindset? Was there anything personal going on? Was I on vacation for half of the month? Because those factors can definitely impact your performance. If you went on vacation for 2 months, so your profit was less, but you actually were super present with your family and bills were paid and needs were met, wouldn't you call that successful? I just want to remind you that KPIs is not the be-all end-all in the number side of things. You do have to paint the picture, look at it holistically, and be human about it. But here's where people often stop. They track stuff, then they go, okay, now what? Well, today's conversation is all about the now what. You just finished tracking your KPIs. Now what do you do? And this is really fresh for me because I made some recent decisions based off KPIs, and I'm going to share them with you. When it comes to the now what piece, it will depend on the type of business you're in, the season you're in. There's a lot of caveats, but I'll share some things to look at and some examples, and maybe it will get your wheels going, and then you'll be able to be more aware of what this information is telling you. A recent aha I had was actually with this podcast. I started in 2021. It used to be called When I Grow Up. I've co-hosted podcasts. I've had other podcasts. I'm very comfortable in the podcast space. However, not that I want to be Ed Milet famous and that's my end goal, but there's days where I'm like, gosh, why aren't my downloads increasing? Instead of just feeling that way and then making rash moves, calm down that part of my ego, I started to track the data and I paid attention. How many people watch on YouTube versus how many people download on different platforms? Ultimately, the data told me this. Is my podcast reach growing? Not like a ton, not enough to write home about. However, the impact is. The impact the show is, and that is worth something to me. I had to remind myself. I don't do this to just get a message out there, like a nugget out there and hope it goes viral. That's not why I do this. I do this to help you. And by reframing my mindset around the podcast and then having the consistent numbers say, though my downloads grow a couple here and there per week, more people mention it when we have conversation. More people bring it up when I'm having a discovery call. I had someone sign up for hot seat coaching and sign up for one of my programs. And all of that is successful. That's a real world example of, yes, my KPI of podcast downloads has not hit my target number since I established it a year ago. However, it has rewarded me other benefits since then that still help my business. And I enjoy doing this. I like talking to you. I like delivering tactical things in a very authentic, genuine way. I like this format of communication. With all those factors, though I'm not Ed Milet famous, I am going to keep the podcast, but it was very humbling to look 6-7 months of data in the face and say, Kelsey, now's not the time to financially invest in this. And that's why I had to make the really hard decision to let my team go. They were great, but when I compared my goals and what I was aiming towards, they had shifted. My goal right now, I'm growing a human. I opened a brick and mortar. I need to grow here where I physically am. And it does not make financial sense or energy sense to try to blow this podcast up. The way we were doing it was not working, and that could be a me problem. There's so many reasons for that. But I wouldn't have confidently made that decision had I not looked the data in the face. I wanted to start off with a very real, raw, genuine example of how the KPIs led to that decision. That was hard because it was the right team, good team of people. It's not like they were doing a bad job. It's just the gap between where I would like to take the show and where we were 7 months later was not closed. And again, it could be a me problem. I'm not fully blaming them. I just think that our end target has shifted for the time being, and that is okay. That is how I want you to look at your KPIs because they can help you make really tough decisions. It was a tough decision. It was emotional. It was hard. It led to hard conversation. But it was the right decision for this chapter of my life and business. And it was okay to change my end goal because it no longer fit my reality. And that's the beauty of KPIs and how you can use them as a catalyst for change in optimization in your business. I want to break down a couple things to think about just as you've started to get in this routine of tracking stuff. KPIs can help you decide when to raise your prices. KPIs can help you decide when you've hit capacity and you need to hire new team members. Let's dive a little deeper in how you can arrive to those decisions. On the pricing side of the house, maybe you are a service-based product and your service requires your time. Obviously, that's how that works. But you're one person and your revenue continues to grow month over month. Your costs are pretty much the same month over month, but your profit is really tight / non-existent. And there's no wiggle room anywhere. That may be a good time to look at what is the real cost of running my business? Is there anywhere I can cut? And if the answer is no, it may be time to raise your prices. Also, looking at your schedule. What are the numbers telling me? I'm looking at my availability. If I'm booked up a couple weeks consistently, a month, 2 months consistently, no wiggle room, no space, and I'm running as efficiently as possible, that's the other big caveat, then it could be time to raise my prices because there's nowhere else to go. Similarly, if you are in that boat, revenue continues to grow, you're maxed out, you can't fit any new people, that might be time to think about hiring. And here's where people get it wrong. People think, I want to be busy later, so I'm going to hire someone now to help me be busy later. And most of the time, that is the wrong way to approach it. Also, having it to be people is not for everybody. So I would acknowledge the fact that it's going to change your priorities, where your time goes, where your investment goes, your focus, your energy, that person, sick leave, FMLA. There's so many things to consider in hiring, and there's so many ways to do it that what I want you to really look at, what's the data telling me? Are you turning away new people that you would love to work with? Are you excited about the idea of teaching and growing somebody? Are you looking forward to a day where more of your time can be spent educating, teaching, coaching someone up? Those are the reasons to hire somebody, not because you're desperate and you have to get something off your plate and you want to check it on someone else's. That is not the time to hire, and you are going to struggle if that is the reason that you hire. I encourage you, look at your KPIs, look at the finances, but then look at the time and your availability and think about, do I have the capacity to focus on someone else right now? I can tell you right now, I am not hiring in this chapter of business and life. And that's the right choice right now because I don't have space to give, to coach someone up, to give feedback into. I don't have room for that right now. And transparently, it may not be my business model. I absolutely love coaching to teams. I definitely have a lot of clients who have teams and I come in-house and help with them. But it's just not what makes sense in my business model. There is a ceiling of how many one-on-one coaching clients, mastermind clients, group coaching clients I can hit, but I haven't hit it yet. And I'm just focusing on providing a quality service and doing the same but better. And then if I get to a point where I have a next level goal, I'll reassess and see what makes sense then. I think it's okay to look at things from that perspective. We just are so hustle minded sometimes, and we are quick to grow, scale, add team. And when it comes to the people side of the house, I encourage you to be very mindful if you are thinking of bringing someone on board before you do it. If you are in the place where you're like, no, it does make sense for me to hire someone, I want to, I'm excited to pour into someone else, great. A good first step would be run the financial scenario. Play out, if they work full time, could you afford their payroll today? Would it take an increase of $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 in revenue? What financially will support that person? Because there will be a dip between when you bring them on and when they're finally in flow with your business. Another way to look at your time is where you're investing it. You track your time, you track how many networking events you go to, you're asking yourself, what's the return on this investment? Sometimes it's clients, sometimes it's fulfillment, sometimes it's purpose. There's lots of different points of value you can get from networking. But now is the part to make decisions. We had someone leave our group who we all really love, and this person was an asset. Like, we really enjoyed them as a person. They were a great fit. They did good work. They got clients from the community because they're good at building relationships, and we support them wholeheartedly. They had to audit how their time is being spent and ultimately decided that our group doesn't make the cut. No hard feelings. I'm proud of this person for going through the data and tracking and making this hard decision. I get it. Like, we only have so many hours in a day. What other decisions do you need to make because of your time? For me, I did a whole episode about it. I quit multiple things because I didn't have the time. I was too emotionally close to it that what really led to it was revisiting where my time was going. I color-coded my calendar, and I could see this particular commitment was gray on my calendar, and I just saw it. It was like a weed. Like, week after week, it was like more and more time. At first, I was just calculating the meetings. Then I started calculating when I was checking email, when I was having phone calls. Any time I put into this specific project, I would put on the calendar, and visually being able to see that grow. Every time I was saying yes to that thing, it was not allowing me to say yes to something else. Sometimes the something else is something I actually really wanted to do. What do you do after a KPI audit like this? It could mean you quit something. It could mean you set a strong boundary. It could mean you need to be honest about your calendar, and maybe you're the problem. Maybe you're a chronic scroller. Or maybe your target trips every week to just clear your brain in the middle of the day are actually not as productive as you thought. Change has to happen, but it's on you to do that. I think it helps to talk through and have someone help you identify these patterns. But the data's there, the information's there, and you're the one that has to act on it. The last example all of us would benefit from thinking about is marketing. When you're looking at KPIs in the marketing world, if you are solo, how much capacity do I really have for this platform? Is it leading to ideal clients who book me for my stuff? For me, on paper, the guru people out there would say it makes sense for my content to be on TikTok and LinkedIn. And I could totally make an argument for both of those. Now it's not the season. Because who's doing that? Me. Even if it's just a toggle of repost over here, I know it's over there. I want it to do well. It's not fair for me to just throw something over there and ignore it. And even though on paper it does make sense, and I get that, because I'm solo on the marketing side of my business right now is not the season for that. I wouldn't know that had I not tracked it. How I track it, you and I have a discovery call. Hey, how'd you find me? Oh, I listened to your podcast, and then I liked some things you put on Instagram, and I booked this from your DM the other day. Boom. Instagram's part of our relationship. And I don't mind being on it. Those two factors led to, okay, we're just going to really focus on Instagram. And then email. Our email strategy has to change. And maybe you subscribe and you're like, yeah, girl. Listen, I tried. And I want to walk you through this whole decision-making process because maybe you can learn from my mistakes. I used to have a pretty active email list. I would write regularly. I've had so many different social media people come and go. You've probably heard from a lot of different tones of voice. My goal with the email has always been to serve. And sometimes I think people forget that this podcast exists, and the email is a great way to remind them. That's my fancy MO with it. Another way to connect with people and remind them that there's a resource here for them that could help them if they want it. It was a full year and a half. The email was dead. I was like, I need to get back on this train after Instagram stopped working for a day and everyone freaked out. And I'm like, I'm doing all this effort with the podcast and all these different platforms. We have Get Shit Done Club, which is an email opt-in. It makes sense that we have our regular newsletter. I like the format of James Clear. If you don't know him, he is the Atomic Habits guy, and his email newsletter is just really clean. It's the same format every single week. It's like a 3-2-1. 3 points, 2 things to think about, 1 quote, something like that. I liked how clean that format was. I'm such a systems-oriented person. I was like, great. I'm just going to take that, do my own Kelsey Get Shit Done version, and have those different sections on my email. I think you guys hated it. I'm laughing now, but I genuinely think the format was just not serving as well as I thought it was. I thought it was cool. I like how it was organized visually. I got unsubscribes every single week I sent that letter out. And at first I was like, oh, we're cleaning the list. We're getting rid of people who don't want to be here. This is great. But when you're looking at KPIs month over month, 4 months of solid data on the newsletter, and I'm losing subscribers at least 1 to 2 per email per week. And there are people who are part of Get Shit Done Club. I'm like, how do you know about Get Shit Done Club if you're not subscribed? People who are empowered, clients, hot leads, people I want to be connected to are unsubscribing from this email list. The ego in me could be like, oh, I suck. It's because they hate me. But if I take the emotion off and all that stuff, if they're engaging on my other marketing efforts, and oftentimes same podcast episode, if they see it in a reel, they're commenting. If they read it in a newsletter, unsubscribe. That's telling me it's the right data and the wrong delivery. We broke down my entire cute little format, and now it's just a very simple, from the heart love letter to you. By the way, there's an episode on this if you want to hear more about it. And it's so funny because the week I changed it, I got 2 people privately reach out, be like, oh, I really love this. This really resonated with me. So yeah, that was the right move. But in the moment, having people hemorrhage from your email list does not feel good. The answer isn't stop doing email. The answer is to pay attention to the patterns and the data. Make adjustments as needed. That's the goal with this KPI stuff. It's not a personal attack. That's why we don't track it sometimes. I think sometimes people are like, I'm afraid of what I'm going to find. Well, I can tell you, having all your friends unsubscribe for your email list can be extremely humbling. Ultimately, it was just too much. My intentions were good. The system was easy and repeatable, but it just wasn't the right delivery method and vehicle for my people. That's worth changing. I wouldn't have known that if I didn't look at it consistently over time. The more you do it, the more you just decide what you're tracking and do it consistently, it does take the sting out a little bit. Another vulnerable moment I'll share is when I identified that in the sales journey with your clients, there's actually 2 main things to pay attention to. If you don't have enough people booking calls with you, clicking on your link, applying for your program, you have a marketing issue. You haven't talked about the thing enough. If those people that you then talk to or DM with or whatever are not buying your thing, you have a sales issue. And the moment I realized those are 2 separate areas to fix, it changed everything for me. If we break it down into those 2 steps that have to happen in the process, then we can actually solve for them easier. One of them was realizing people on Instagram really love an in-the-moment reel. Kelsey really hates making an in-the-moment reel. But I'm not in this for me. I'm in this to serve you. We have to find a way to meet in the middle. There's times I post stuff now with this new mindset around it where I'm like, post in and of itself did not lead to a bunch of comments or shares or people clicking on my stuff or applying to work with me. However, the post before it and the reel after it and the story that day all helped to paint this bigger picture of this offer I have for you. KPI Club, for instance, it was a piece of the puzzle, and that's still worthy. Don't let this be like, oh, I suck. This means I'm doing something wrong. Sometimes it's part of the ecosystem, and that doesn't mean to not do it. It just means to pay attention to what's working. By separating the marketing side and the sales side, it allowed me to call out like, oh, we need to make some adjustments to marketing, aka my email strategy, or the sales side. And I realized 2 years ago that I had a massive sales issue. I was in the friend zone with so many people. People knew who I was. We vibing, and I kept positioning myself as the cheerleader, the friend, the hype woman. But I didn't know I had a sales issue, and I kept trying to solve it with marketing. If this is you and you're thinking about, okay, I'm tracking the KPIs, I'm looking at which posts I'm getting the most engagement on. If the post you're getting the most engagement on is you saying something funny about your husband, and you're a piano teacher and you're trying to get more piano clients, and your client list did not go up in that month, then you're posting the wrong content. It can perform air quotes well, meaning it gets in front of a lot of eyeballs, gets a lot of people to like double tap, comment, all that stuff can be true. But if you're not also then converting people, starting conversations, closing them in the DMs, you got a problem, and it's a sales problem. Breaking those two things down really saved me, and I think that might be beneficial for you to think about when it comes to the marketing KPIs that you're starting to track more. The other thing to keep in mind is the importance of consistency. The more consistently you track this stuff and you're not modifying, tweaking, and adjusting every month, you set aside time and you're like, these are the KPIs I'm tracking. I'm sticking to them for the next quarter. Then I'm going to set aside time to reassess. Are these the right things to track? All my product people, listen. You should be doing KPIs after every market you do or event. If you do conferences, have specific KPIs for events, and then have specific KPIs for your launches. The next time you decide whether or not to do a Mother's Day launch, you can look back on the KPIs from your previous Mother's Day launch and decide, what was the cost of my product versus how much did I sell? Did it lead to other sales? Was I able to upsell them to other customizations? If not that, what else could I have done during that time? This KPI stuff, we can apply it to a lot of different things. If you're service-based and you're having a workshop, what if you did a mini KPI audit after your workshop? If you are a community builder, what if you did KPIs after all your events to see your conversion rates and be able to make shifts and adjustments? Maybe people aren't vibing with your branding. Maybe your workshop title wasn't enticing enough or clear enough. Maybe that person didn't post about it enough. We can start to make decisions based off this data. Consistency is your best friend when it comes to tracking this stuff. Modify your KPIs to fit the changes, but have this baseline, the one I talked about a couple episodes ago, where you have your finance KPIs, you have your marketing KPIs, and you have your operational KPIs. Those should be tried and true every month. Don't be afraid to add other things to consider as it makes sense in your life and business. And I encourage you to commit to the journey because tracking KPIs has definitely given me confidence. It's also humbled me in seasons where I'm like, I'm just not doing well right now. And then I can look at my calendar. I didn't have a single discovery call or conversation with someone. Of course, I'm not doing well. People don't know I have stuff to sell. We can start to make better decisions that are not just an overall, we suck, we should go get a real big girl job. I can solve for that problem. I know what next step to do. I know where to refocus. I know what to shift. And I want that for you. If you're listening to this and this vibe is resonating, I want to tell you something. I'm actually bringing back CEO Bootcamp. It's all about building a really strong foundation for your business. Yes, we talk about KPIs. So if you tackle the freebie and have that going, you're going to be better off and be able to get more out of this program. All you need to know is this group program built on foundations and systems to help you scale. That's what you need to know. Learn more at my website, kelseymarieknudsen.com/CEO Bootcamp. We also have information down in the show notes. I'm super excited to support you in this way. I encourage you, use these KPIs, use this data as a tool in your business. And if you're struggling to figure out how to leverage it, CEO Bootcamp is going to be KPI or die on steroids applied to all facets of your business. I would love to see you inside there. Thanks for being a part of the Get Shit Done revolution. My hope is this episode sparked a fire in you, equipped you with some practical next steps, or inspired you to take action towards your goals. If it did, please help spread the word by sharing this episode or leaving a review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're tuning in. Now it's time for me to hand over the keys and let you get shit done.